Hi, you're welcome to the third day or the third part of our short course on business idea creativity. So today we shall be talking about business areas that you can exploit, be it you want to delve down the entrepreneur route on a larger scale, or perhaps you just want to have something on the standby to support your current financial situation. No doubt about the fact that today's course will give you more of an hint as to areas which you can exploit in order for you to be able to get your foot on ground when it comes to additional resources or when it comes to contributing to your society or to your community, while at the same time simultaneously smiling to bank. First, when it comes to business area to exploit, retailers, it's an area where you could exploit. Take for instance, you could buy some certain things and as well sell them. In communities, you see instances where people have some stores, some kiosks, in which they sell things, and the objective is to ensure that their people within their community doesn't have to go far in order to buy some certain things which are of urgent need. So you can look around your environment, your premises, and see if there is no things like that around, then you can actually easily set up something like that within your community. So that rather than going to a far distance place to buy things, people within your community can always patronize you. Another thing you can always do is, if you're into the online tech, if you have the IT tech, that is, you can use the internet, use the computer, you can always engage in what is often referred to as drop shipping, and that has to do with you buying products and as well selling products. That is, you don't necessarily have to ship those products down to you. You just have to place a request for those products and sell it on Amazon and sell it on eBay. When you take a close look at Amazon, you see that people who as well utilize Amazon to sell, most of them are actually retailers, some are wholesalers. That is, they buy in bulk and they sell. And some don't necessarily have to touch those goods, so they just have connections with those manufacturing companies, and they begin to advertise the products from the manufacturers. And when they sell it, they just tell the manufacturers to send the product to the person who made request for it. To actually make the point so clear, let me do a little bit of analysis here. Let's assume this is a manufacturing company. And here you want to start up a business, you have a little IT tech business, and here is a manufacturing company, and here is Amazon, or perhaps here is eBay. Now what you can do is, you can always, all you have to do is you communicate with this company and you said you want to help them to sell, you want to sell their products, and they will tell you, okay, you can go around, and sell it. There's a platform which is Shopify. You can use Shopify, and from Shopify you just create an account, and right away in your account here, you link your account down to the manufacturers. That is, you can easily order product from the manufacturer to Shopify account, where you have a dedicated website for you personally to be able to market those products. And now let's assume someone who saw your advert, because perhaps you place advert on Amazon or on eBay. Someone sees your advert, then the next thing the person would say is, okay, I want this product. As soon as it clicks on this product, which you advertise on Amazon or eBay, the person, the ads will just go straight here, you process it, and you tell the manufacturer to send the product down to this person who have actually ordered the product. So the manufacturer will just send the product down here, then you take your own cut and pay the manufacturer. You don't necessarily have to keep on inventories of those goods or those manufactured products. And before you realize it, you'll be making your own money, and while at the same time smiling to bank, and as well helping as a distributor one way or the other to this manufacturing company, or perhaps as a retailer. So that's one aspect, and you can as well think of any other things which you you can actually sell and begin to utilize or leverage on the internet and to utilize it to sell those things. Aside retailer or retailing or distribution generally, or distribution, you also talk of consulting. Consultant is as well a core business area which you can exploit, and it's all about one being able to actually sells the information, that is knowledge which he or she has. Consultancy revolves around knowledge, it's often referred to as knowledge broker, that is those who engage in consultancy or coaching as it may be. So all you just have to do is the information you have, the knowledge you've acquired over the period of time, perhaps your experience, you can actually utilize it to help other people to grow into their own full potential, to harness their own potential, and thus in one way or the other, you will be contributing value to the society, while at the same time smiling to bank and creating a job for yourself. And consultancy as well, let's take for instance, you've worked in an engineering company, in a manufacturing company for over a period of time, and you've acquired a lot of experiences, and now there are companies that are actually going down that lane. You can actually serve as a consultant to them and thus help them in order to get their foot on ground fully, and while at the same time they pay you for the services you render. And consultancy as well also extends to coaching. There are instances in which perhaps there are various coaches, there are diet coaches, there are exercise coaches, there are people who, there are entrepreneurial coaches, there are startup coaches, it just revolves around you selling the knowledge you have. So all you just want to do is look inward and see which experience or which knowledge do you have that someone out there might be benefiting from. And before you realize it, you're actually creating a job in one way or the other for yourself, or perhaps create something that's supporting you if you actually not delving into it on a larger scale. So you want to take a close look at yourself and examine perhaps in time past, in the area of your job, or whichever knowledge you think you have and you feel will be beneficial to people out there. You want to leverage on it, and before you realize it, you as well will be contributing values to the society while at the same time supporting yourself financially. Another area you want to look into is agriculture. No doubt about the fact that agriculture as well has always played a major role when it comes to any economy generally. So you want to look around and see if you want to delve into agriculture. You want to see, okay, what crops or which product is actually, can actually contribute value to people within your community. Or let's take for instance, there are some certain crops or there are some certain fruits which have not been processed or which you realize have not been processed into another form. Why not take a close look at those fruits and see how best you can transform those fruits and process them into another finished product. There are instances in which, let's take for instance, orange or banana has been extracted and produced, they've been extracted into another form of product, a juice, and those who actually extracted it and come up with that idea, they're actually making money as well. So you can look around and see which other product is actually not available or which other product has not been transformed or processed into another finished product. Then you can as well leverage on that. That reminds me of a story I watched some time ago of a couple in the United States. There is this particular couple, they have a garden, they have a farm, and what they actually grows within that farm, is vegetable. And prior to they coming up with this idea, within their community, people within their community, they don't know much about this vegetable. And they don't know the advantage of this vegetable. But this family, these couples knows the advantage of this vegetable, and they leverage on it. And they begin to, they grow this vegetable and begin to supply it to people within their community. And while simultaneously getting returns from there and thus having a business by the side to keep day-to-days running, and as well their business is expanding. And one thing I find so interesting about the idea is the fact that some of the crops they were actually growing there, they affect, it's organic, it is natural, there is no chemical used in the course of the growing and all of this. And aside the fact that it's organic purely, you realize that some of those vegetables are actually not something that is more like common within the people in the society or in the community there. In short, there is one of those products in which the person, those couples actually saw, they took the idea from Nigeria and they began to grow the vegetable there because the vegetable is very nutritious, it has a lot of vitamins. But people within the community, they don't know much about this idea before. But when they got to know about it, when they tried it and they realized, oh, this has a lot of vitamins and this is very nutritious, they took advantage of it. And before you realize it, they booked in advance before the yields comes out. And these couples, they're actually doing fine and at the same time creating values within their community. So when you talk of ideas generally, you want to as well see which products, what product can you grow, or what crops can you grow, what vegetable can you grow within your community that would be very nutritious, that would serve people within your community. Or perhaps which product can you actually transform into something else to support people within your community. Or let's take for instance, in your community there is maize, and processing of maize, it's actually not done. Why not take it up as a call and see how best you can set up the needed organization to process those things into another product that will be beneficiary for people within your community. Before you realize it, you will be creating a market for people, you'll be creating a market for yourself, and thus have a niche dedicated to your company. Aside agriculture, we have web services. Web services could be referred to as non-organic services. When I say non-organic, it's because it's not something you have to engage in physical transactions in. That is, you don't necessarily have to go to a specific stores, bring out your purse, and as well give out cash in exchange for any service. No. So it's kind of non-organic, and they are kind of web services. Take for instance a B&B, which we mentioned earlier. You want to book an apartment now, you don't necessarily have to go to an agent or go to a specific office. You just have to stay within the convenience of your apartment and book these accommodations. And another thing is Amazon, which I earlier mentioned. If you want to buy anything on Amazon, you don't necessarily have to go to a store. So these are web services, and the concept behind those ideas has to do with the fact that there are some businesses in operations right on ground. That is, they've been engaging in these businesses on a physical, in more of an organic approach. But now they were able to take this idea to the web, and thus solving problems of times and other logistics issues on behalf of people. So you want to see if there's any concept or any business within your community which doesn't have an online presence at the moment. You want to think through how best you can take this business concept down to online, and before you realize it, you'll be able to create a market for yourself. Take for instance, before the presence, there are some other web services. Take for instance, if you want to book an holiday, or you want to book a flight, all you just have to do now, right from the convenience of your home, you can always book an apartment, book a flight, and get your ticket, everything sorted out. But prior to then, or prior to the establishment of those web applications, that gives people opportunity to be able to book their services or to book flights and all of those holidays online. People go to agents to book flights and say, okay, please, I want to travel on so period, on so date, I want you to help me book a flight. And the agent will just book and give them the details. But now the reverse is now you can have the option of booking right away from your homes, and all you just have to do is go to the airport on the day you want to board, on the day you want to go for your trip, and board your flight. So you want to examine which business is currently in organic state and yet to be in a non-organic state. And all you just have to do is you take it online, and before you realize it, you're creating a business as well for yourself. Now let's talk about these organic services. These are the conventional services as well, which in one way or the other, it requires physical activities. These, take for instance the horticultures, those who engage in horticultural activities, that is trimming of flowers, it is ensuring that compounds are well made, most especially those compounds which have grasses and all of this. No doubt about the fact that that requires physical presence. The person needs to be on ground to exchange in that service. So you can as well look around your services or in your area and see if that is something you're interested in. If you can do such thing, you have passion for it, you can actually as well create a business around it and help people within your community as well to have a trimmed or a very neat gardens, and before you realize it, you might as well be getting some money next it. I mean, contributing values while at the same time smiling to bank. Another thing as well is plumbing or anything related to construction work. You realize those are services people as well render, but they don't, I mean, they require physical presence and as well as physical activities, and that's why I refer to it as organic service. So you want to see within your environment some of these services which cannot be taken online, or like example, you are not the online tech type, or you are not the type that likes the IT area or anything related to internet. You can as well think towards these directions and see how best you could create something out of your community or within your society, so as to contribute more positively to people within the community and as well get returns in exchange for what you're offering. Now, transportation as well is another areas which you can as well exploit. There has been instances in which people buy vehicles and they utilize it to convey people and they get money in exchange for the service which they render. And take for instance Uber. There are people who engage in Uber, that is, they get some cars and they put it on, they register it with Uber and they help you convene people from one place to another. And just before you realize it, they as well smile to bank at the end of the day. So no doubt about the fact that transport business as well is something that one could leverage into, or perhaps having a taxi to convey people. That reminds me, sometimes ago I was going to check up on a friend, but I observed the train station is far from where the residents of that community lives. And what this man does is, he knows the times when the trains would arrive, and he just goes straight to the train station, and thus from there people entered the train. I mean, people came out of the trains and they entered the cab, and they take the cab down to, I mean, he went ahead and dropped people into their respective homes. And before you realize it, I think people pay tokens for it. And before you realize it, at the end of the day as well, he smiles to bank and everyone smiles. Those who wouldn't be able to, I mean, who wouldn't like to walk a long distance down to their homes, they take the cab at a very convenient price, and the man smiles to bank, and the passengers as well smiles down home. So no doubt about the fact that transport business is something one could engage in, perhaps if you find yourself in a community where you realize there is a need. That is, people in major instances have to trek for a long distance before they from the bus station or from the train station down to where they live. And you live within that community, and you're looking at a part-time business or something you can do by the side, you can actually try this out and see how best you utilize or leverage on that concept. Another thing is real estate business. No doubt about the fact that over the years, real estate has always been a very, very lucrative business. There have been instances in which people buy a building or they buy a land, and over a period of time, they sell the land and they get a very good yield. So you want to as well look into that. If you have the resources to invest in real estate, I would strongly advise you do that. But let's assume you're just someone who can't really delve into real estate on a larger scale. Why not try something out? Why not rent an apartment? Take for instance Airbnb. There are instances in which people rent an apartment. And what they do is, they rent apartments, say, with 500 euro at the end of the month. And after renting it, they furnish those apartments, that 3-bedroom. And as soon as they furnish it, they begin to let it out to people. They place it on Airbnb, most especially to those people who live around communities where there are recreation centers, where there are where people often visit a lot. So you see them, I mean, you can always rent an apartment like that and furnish the apartment. And on a daily basis, let's say per night or per day, you let out the apartment for 20 euro or perhaps say 30 euro per night. And if you're so fortunate enough to have 3 guests in a night, then that would be more like 90 euro per night. And if you are so fortunate as well to, let's assume you live in a busy city where people come into that city regularly to come and visit and see things that are in that cities and all of that, you can be fortunate and have people using your room over and over, all through the month. And if that happens, then we have 30 days in a month. Now we're talking of 2,700 at the end of the month. And 2,700 at the end of the month, first what you do is you deduct your 500 euro. And let's assume you dedicate 500 euro for the furnishing of the apartment, and you have about 1,700 euro left. And with this 1,700 euro, let's say you go to a buffet and you give yourself a very nice meal, and you smile to the bank with the remaining one. No doubt about the fact that you're invariably creating an alternate source of income for yourself, and before you realize it, you're contributing value while at the same time smiling to bank. So no doubt about the fact that before you realize it, you actually have something on standby for yourself. Or let's assume you don't want to engage in that, you have the needed resources to build an apartment and let it out. Why not build one and give people the opportunity to rent the apartment, and you as well get something in exchange for it? Because one thing about properties is it rarely depreciates, it rarely depreciates. So you want to try as many as you can to see how you could exploit those areas as well. And when it comes to real estate generally, it could be landed property. I don't know what the laws or the regulations are in whichever community you find yourself or in your society. You want to see how best, if you have the means, you could as well leverage on having a property, you buy it, perhaps a land, give it over a period of 6 months or 1 year, you sell it out and you get something as well in return. Another thing is, and aside that, in real estate there are agencies, that is people who help others to search for accommodations. You want to, if it's something you're interested in, that's kind of a cool business as well. And what people does with that is, first, when they go out, when there's an apartment, they discuss with the owner of the apartment and they tell the man that, okay, look, sir, can you give us the power of attorney to let out your apartment, that is to anyone who might be interested. We want to get you a good customer to utilize your building or to rent your apartment. And the landlord would be like, okay, go ahead, I'm giving you the power of attorney to do that. And now, let's assume the apartment goes for 500 on a monthly basis. Don't be surprised that, the person will get the 500, pays the 500, and I think the landlord would have to pay the agent some commissions. And in some instances, the person who is coming to the apartment, who have gone to meet the agent in the office, would as well pay some commission. Let's say the landlord gives the agent man 10%, then the person coming in gives the person as well 10%, so that's 20%. And 10% of 500, that's 50 euro, and I think this as well gives the person 50 euros, so that's on euro. That's for renting. But let's assume the person wants to sell a building, and the building goes for 500,000 euro. It goes for 500,000 euro, and now it's to pay the agent. In major instances, the landlord would have to pay the agent 50,000 euro, which is equivalent to 10%, of the 500,000 euro. So, and before you realize it, the agent smiles to bank with 50,000 euro. So you want to examine and see how best you could leverage on something like this. Or better still, when you take a close look at the real estate industry, there are a whole lot of things you could actually do with it, and before you realize it, you're actually making waves for yourselves and within the industry of your choice. Lastly, let's talk about manufacturing as well as productions. Manufacturing as well is something interesting. If you have the needed tech, or perhaps you have the needed knowledge. To those who have actually worked within the engineering industry or in the manufacturing industry before, and they're thinking about retirement, they could as well think, okay, since I'm approaching retirement, why not consider manufacturing something? And it could be machine, it could be whatever. They could delve into it and start manufacturing things. Or let's assume as well you're starting up and you want to have a manufacturing company. You want to as well think of something you could manufacture, and before you realize it, you will be making moves within your whole industry niche. And one thing as well, there's this interesting experience of Nike. Nike, Nike is a well-known shoe brand. And one thing that interests me about this story was the fact that he actually, prior to his starting his business, he actually, because the whole idea, the whole concept behind Nike was tailored down to a Japanese brand, which he actually brought into the US. That is, he went to Japan and as well discussed with a shoe manufacturing company there that, okay, I want to be a distributor for you because this product is not in US. I want to distribute your product for customers in the US. You see the concept in the US, this idea is not there. That is, they don't use the brand of which Nike was actually distributing for. So Nike went to Japan and actually said, okay, I want to be a distributor for this company. And it brought those products down to US and used it to penetrate the US shoe industry. And before you realize it, it got to a point where the product it was actually distributing at that point in time was having huge demand. And without wasting much time, what he did was he set up a plant, went into collaborations, and they began to produce what is well known as Nike today. So you could as well start from somewhere and see which products you might distributing for people or for customers who are into manufacturing. And at the point when you felt, okay, it's something you could actually delve into as well and have something like that produced in a much more innovative way, you could go ahead as well and do that. Because one thing I realized is Nike did not stop with the model which they were supplying him. He actually took a close look at the model he was distributing. And he told the manufacturing company that, look, I want something much more interesting than what you're offering me. I need more of this, I need more of this, I need more of this in the design, I need more of this in the concept, in in the manufacturing of. So he was like, he needs additional stuff in the manufacturing of this. He needs perhaps in the soles, generally in the footings. I mean, in the shoes. He actually gives specifications, and that specifications actually go a long way in making Nike what it is today. And no doubt about the fact that you as well could think about any other, something similar. Perhaps you see something that's very, very prevalent in some other places. Perhaps you go on a holiday and you see something that you know would serve your community as well. Why not start up from there and see how best you can utilize or harness that initiative and use it to contribute to your society, to your community. And before you realize it, you're creating a unique business for yourself, same as Nike did, same as the family or the couple we mentioned in the area of agriculture as well did. And before you realize it, you have a cool business you're running, and you start getting your foot on ground gradually, and you begin to smile, to bank, and as well do yourself a very good favor by either being a solo entrepreneur or perhaps delving down the entrepreneur route on a larger scope. So now, having mentioned the business area, I think there's something that's as well very important, which you might not want to roll out. That's when coming up with a business idea. I mentioned earlier the importance in the first lecture, the importance of utilizing JIRA approach, most especially in taking your business idea formation through the process of learning about the industry, as well understanding the logic behind the model which are in existence, and lastly, reasoning out your own idea or your own concept. No doubt about the fact that when you're trying to reason out your own concept, it is important for you to come up to understand yourself as to where you actually position yourself. If you are coming into an existing industry, it is important to ask yourself, am I coming into this industry to contribute to the vertical progression, or am I coming into this industry to contribute to the horizontal progression? If you are coming to the industry with the objective of contributing to the vertical progression, no doubt about the fact that you are actually taking an idea from 0 to 1. And thus, it's going to place you on a much more leverage as compared to when you're going into more of an existing business, or trying to imitate existing model, or trying to create something unique out of the existing model. It makes me remember some time ago I checked through, there was a video that was in circulation on LinkedIn. There's these guys that actually produce a product like that. Before the first product was out, people had actually made an order for this, for them to be supplied. And here is another interesting story of a guy who I watched his video some time ago. This guy actually designed a car, and the car, it's more like, it's kind of a hybrid car, sort of, because the car has the ability to walk on roads. You can drive it on the road, you can drive it on the water, you can as well fly with it. And if that guy should if he's coming up if he's penetrating any industry, the auto industry, no doubt about the fact that he's going to get his foot on the ground easily, because he's coming with a unique idea that's not in existence, as compared to someone who is actually coming into an industry with the same model of what has actually been in existence. Let's take, for instance, now someone who wants to produce a car, and he wants to compete with, say, Toyota, Hyundai, or BMW, or Mercedes. No doubt about the fact that he might not be able to get his foot on ground as much as when he's coming up with a unique idea that's taking a concept from 0 to 1, and which I mentioned of a guy that's actually working on an hybrid form of auto. Of an hybrid auto. So you want to ask yourself, where are you actually positioning yourself? Because when you're able to understand where you're positioning yourself, you it on the vertical progression, that is coming up with a new idea to penetrate an industry. Before you realize it, your idea would create a wave within the industry, and or you're contributing to the horizontal progression. That is, you're trying to like come up with an optimal solution of what's already in existence. You want to, I mean, whichever way, it is important for you to have this mindset of where you're actually positioning yourself within the industry, because it's going to help you prepare as to how well you land yourself and as well thrive within such industry space. Another interesting thing is the business hierarchical question, which as well is often important. There are instances in which when people ignore these fundamental questions, they tend to not actually achieve their objectives within the industry, most especially when these questions are actually not taken into cognizance. First, the breakthrough question. You want to ask yourself, would my idea be able to break through into the existing industry? And if yes, fine. And if no, then you want to as well take a step further. What does it mean the market is not right for it? Then you want to ask yourself, okay, is the market right? And even if your concept is going to break through into the industry, how soon will it break through? And as well, the marketplace, I mean, the market ripeness, you want to ask, is the market right? And if the market is not right, then you want to take a step back a little bit. But when you have a great idea and the market is right before you realize it, it's going to fly. And also you have monopoly. You want to ask yourself, would your concept be able to monopolize the industry? And if not, is it part of your objective? And if it's part of your objective, then you have to like work towards it. And that's what makes Amazon to stand out. Amazon works towards dominating the online market space, And in order for Amazon to be able to achieve that, there's something that happens to be his major focus, and that has to do with customer satisfaction. His objective is to ensure that he satisfies the customers in every aspect. And when it comes to online, you wouldn't want to think twice without thinking about Amazon. And he actually makes that his focal point, his objective, and that actually gave him a leverage in monopolizing the online market space. That's why even if you want to do anything online, you see Amazon has a major role to play. You want to watch movie, Amazon is there. You want to do this, Amazon is there. Because his objective is to ensure that everything about you is satisfied. That it meets with customer satisfactions in every area. So if your objective is to monopolize the market, then you have to think about that right away from onset. As you're penetrating the market, because it's going to determine how you move. But if you actually don't think about where you want to position yourself, you might just in one way or the other subject your growth within the industry to randomness. And before you realize it, you're right away from the creations of the conceptions of your idea. If you don't actually analyze where you want to position yourself, before you realize it, you might be starting off and competitors might just come in and shake you off your lane. And that you wouldn't want to do, most especially at the early stage of your company. So you want to strategically prepare for towards where you would want to land yourself. Either on the vertical progression or on the horizontal progression, it is important for you to prepare yourself well in advance. And you want to as well have a projection. In the next 10 years, where would I be? It has a major role to play, because if in one way or the other, you chooses to ignore that aspect, it might not be so fun. That reminds me of a video I was watching yesterday. There was this lady, she has an objective, she has a vision, and she knows where she's going. But along the way, they weren't actually recording success, because someone who doesn't have, someone was kind of hindering their progression. And he realized, if care is not taken, they might not be able to achieve their goal or their objective. And what he has to do is, he has to make an adjustment towards ensuring that their projection of where they're going is actually being met, and you actually bring someone as well on board who can help them in order to achieve that. So you want to have a projection of where you want to be in the next 10 years. If you don't have a projection of where you want to be, then in one way or the other, you might be subjecting the company to randomness in the future. And if you don't prepare very well, you might get destabilized and pushed off your home lane, even right within a niche where you should have taken dominance. And lastly, you want to have a distribution strategy, most especially when you're trying to come up with a new idea. It's not all about having an idea, but you want to see how best to distribute to your end users, and as well have channels for feedback so that you'll be able to keep improving and keep them in tight grip. Just as Amazon kept, some of us in his tight grip sort of. So no doubt about the fact that before you realize it, you will be dominating your niche and you will be making waves within your own industries, and you will be doing fine and at the same time contributing to your society, helping other people who are just coming, who might want to meet with them, who might want to get a job before they get their foot on the ground. You create jobs, and as well you contribute to the society. You smile to bank, they smile to bank, and you keep making moves. So thank you so much, and here comes to the conclusion of the part theory of this business idea creativity short course. I hope you actually find it so interesting. If you find it so interesting, I think that's good. And if you feel there's any question you have, which I can actually help in answering, I'll be glad to do that.